Hi, everybody. Okay, so today I'm going to talk to you guys about something that is, it's just something, there's certain things that come up for me along my journey and things that people are confused about. And there are often things that I have thought about myself time and time again, and that I think that's okay. Things that I have thought about time and time again, things that I have processed through my entire life, because I am a seeker. I am a person who wants to know things. I'm a person who's really connected to my my intuition. I guess I received my intuition is what I should say. Because we all have our intuition, but a lot of people think that they don't. But what that really means is that they're just not connected. Because I want to start off with saying that nobody comes to this earth that God doesn't give all the same skills to. Now, I know that that's going to be, or tools to. I know that's going to be kind of earth-shattering for some people, and I'm kind of a disruptor at times because I know things, I understand things on a really visceral level, and then I'll see the world talking about things in a completely different way, and I'm like, So instead of just saying, oh, they're wrong, I'm right, or I'm right, they're wrong, I will investigate even further. I will start, and when I say investigate, doesn't mean I go and research and ask other people's things. I take it to God. I'm like, answer this for me. Tell me what this is really all about. And the reasons why I wanted to talk about empaths, HSP, and sensitives and what this all means is because many times I have seen that people want to label themselves something, and they call themselves that something. But the problem is that they're not utilizing that something for the best of their life. They're not utilizing that thing that they're calling themselves as a tool to heal and grow, evolve, shift, to transform, to actually improve their life. Sometimes people are using labels, not everyone, but sometimes people are using labels as a means of, as an excuse. I know that might sound weird. Let me get into it a little bit. So, not that long ago, I was coaching this gal, and she was really, really big into the Enneagram. And the Enneagram is very, very cool. And for those of you that don't know that yet, you take this particular quiz or some type of questionnaire, you fill it out, and then they label you a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, whatever. I think it goes up to a 10 or an 11. And I wasn't shocked at what I turned out to be. I think it was a 2. Don't quote me on this, but it was the helper. Shocking. That's what I have done my whole life. That's what I am. However, in the Enneagram, there is when it works for you and when it works against you. So it's not just, oh, hey, I'm a 2. Sorry, that's what I am. I can't change. Because this is what I find fascinating, is that a lot of times people want to use certain labels, like I'm a number whatever on the Enneagram, or I'm an empath, or I'm sensitive, or these type of things, to get the world to try to transform around them, or to stay stuck in where they're at. And I want to disrupt that narrative. I want to disrupt that idea, because number one, we are all children of God. We are in our earth suits, the physical body, to come here and to have experiences so that we can learn and grow. That's the whole purpose of being on planet Earth. But a lot of times people are really into their head space. They're really into their thinker space. They're really into the fact that they are, I'm trying to make this a little bit lighter, you guys, by clicking things, but it's just not really working. So I don't know. Ooh. Oh, we could have dance going on. I guess there's no way to really make it lighter, so I'm just going to go with this one again. Okay, so the reason why I want to talk about this is because I want people to really, the healing path is all about getting really, really radically clear about ourselves. Do you know that that's the entire path? A lot of times we think it is the circumstances, the people around us, the experiences that we're having. We think it has to do with everybody else, but it doesn't. It has to do with ourselves. It has to do with us and getting to know ourselves on a level that is closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to our whole and perfect God self, which is just derived of love. So in the meantime, people are getting a lot of information in the world, and this information is sometimes helping people to stall rather than to grow. So when I was saying that I had this client that was really big into the Enneagram, when I was coaching her, she kept saying things like, well, I'm a blank. I forgot the number. Well, that's just who I am. That's just who I am. And no, that is not who you are. No matter what number, no matter what label, no matter what thing that you give yourself, that is not who you are. Because we are infinite beings with infinite possibilities. So to call ourselves a certain something is to say, well, I'm just giving up. That's just me. Well, we really put ourselves in a box when we do that. However, these terms, empaths, HSP, sensitives, all these type of terms, they mean something. And they are serving. And as human beings, we have to have language around things because it's very hard to explain sometimes how we're feeling. So it has been very serving to the world for these terms to come up, such as empaths and HSP and sensitives, because it actually gives us a way to define ourselves and to explain on a kind of a more succinct level what it is that we're experiencing. And it's very favorable when these terms come up. It's great because people can say things very quickly and understand. Like the same thing is true with the term narcissist. Many of us have dealt with those type of people, yet we didn't really have a term for it. We didn't know what it was. We just knew it didn't feel right. But then when that term came out, we're like, okay, this is a better definition. This is a real thing. I'm not crazy. I'm dealing with this thing, right? But then what a lot of people do, sorry, there's a little hair hanging off my camera. What a lot of people do is they want to call everybody a narcissist. And they want to say, well, this is as good as it gets. And it doesn't get any better than this. And this is just what it is. Well, the problem with that is that we're keeping ourselves stuck and small, and we're actually sabotaging our existence here. Because these terms are only here to tell us, to guide us, to make it more clear about what it is that we're dealing with. So I was in a group one time on Facebook. It was an empath group, and I couldn't remember the name of it. It was a huge group. I mean, tens of thousands of people were in this group. And like most people, I like to be in communities. I like to talk. I like to share notes with people. I like to get, to hear people's stories and things like that. But what I discovered in this group, and I'm not saying this is all empaths. There's no blanket statement here, guys. But what I discovered in that group, there was a lot of people going, well, I'm just an empath. Woe is me. Pity party. This is my life. It's never going to get any better than that. I'm just destined to attract narcissists. And the more that I read this, the more I was getting frustrated in that group because I was like, no, this is not what's happening. So I put that in my head notes. At some point I'm going to talk about this. What are empaths? What are HSP? What are sensitives? What does all of this stuff mean? Because I feel like if we can have a greater understanding of what all of this stuff means, then we can navigate life in a more effective way. So I'm going to start off with empaths. The true meaning of the word empath, all that means is that you pick up on other people's energy. And most of the time, it's in the form of some type of emotion. Okay? So we pick up on their energy because guess what, y'all? We are all energy readers. And the word empath means that you are aware that you are an energy reader, that you know that you have this thing that happens. You notice I'm not calling it an ability because guess what? We all have this ability. Every single person on this planet has the ability to read energy or to pick up on energy. But that doesn't mean that they do it. It doesn't mean that they're fine-tuned in it. It doesn't mean that they're aware when they're doing it. So to say I'm an empath is only to say I'm pretty good at recognizing when I'm picking up other people's energy. That's all that it means. It doesn't mean that you're secular. It doesn't mean that you're special. And this is a really important thing because as human beings, we want this feeling of specialness, which is a lot of the reasons why, believe it or not, what people pleasers are seeking and what narcissists are seeking. Because remember, I've said this many times on my stage, that the core is the same of both. It's hidden shame and unworthiness and a desire to A, feel love, approval, and acceptance. For the people pleaser, it is by over attending to the needs and wants and desires of other people. Okay, so we, in hopes that we get that back to us. Good morning, Andrea. Thank you for being here. At some point, you're going to have to tell me if I'm pronouncing your name right. And for the narcissist, it is about over attending, hyper is a better word, hyper attending to the needs of self. But both things are designed, right? Both behaviors are designed to try to make us feel special and like we're worthy and there's something good about us. There's a quote in the Course in Miracles that says this: no child of God is special. No child of God is special, and all children of God are special. Okay? That's already built in to the infrastructure. We're already special because we're of God. But none of us are special. So a lot of times when people want to have these labels, it's because there's this part of them inside that is seeking for the specialness. Here's the deal, you guys. I'm an empathic mofo. Okay, I'm clairsentient. That was, and I'll explain the difference between those two because people get jacked up with that too. And I never walked around going, well, I'm an empath. Well, I'm an empath. I just go, oh, that's what it's called? Cool. Oh, I didn't know that I had a term. I didn't know that. This is in my 20s. I didn't know there was terminology for these things. I just knew that I could pick up on this type of energy of people. So what an empath really is a person that is feeling and interpreting the energy of another person. Well, hopefully interpreting. Because sometimes we can just feel the energy and we don't really yet interpret it correctly. So there's been times when I say driving around, which is I always say that. You guys will notice I'm driving around because a lot of times this happens. A lot of things happen when I'm driving because I think I'm focused kind of on something else. So my brain kind of quiets itself and then information comes in. And I remember many times in my life, I would feel sadness or anger or frustration or anxiety or for something, and it came out of flipping nowhere. Nowhere. Where I was like, I'm having a great day, and all of a sudden I'm sad. And I would ask myself, am I sad? Like, where the heck did this come from? Am I really sad? Like, I'm not sad at all. Like, where's this? What is this? Then I started to say, God, if this is not mine, please take it away from me. If it's mine, show me more. Within, you guys, I'm not even exaggerating, within probably 30 seconds, I felt a release. And I was like, whoa. So I am picking up on somebody else's energy. I am picking up on somebody else's sadness. Again, doesn't make me special, doesn't make you special, because we're all special. And just because we're in tune with that doesn't mean that the rest of the world doesn't have it. Okay? So learning that this was it, all this became was clarity for me. It just became an understanding. Oh, sometimes I pick up on other people's energy. And there's been times when I pick up on that energy and then I'll say, who is this? And I'll reach out to someone randomly and just say, how you doing? Yeah, not having a good day. I'm kind of sad today. And I don't go, oh yeah, I was picking up on your energy. I just go, okay, that's who it was. It was this particular person. So that's what being an empath is. Now the whole thing, I have to go into this because this was huge in the world for a while, that empaths attract narcissists. So what that's saying is that someone who can pick up the energy of other people attract a narcissist. No. People pleasers attract narcissists. people who make other people's needs, wants, and desires their primary focus. Because a narcissist wants their needs, wants, and desires the primary focus. Remember, I tell you guys it's the key to the lock. Okay? It's the key to the lock. That's why we attract that. The fact that we have the ability to pick up on emotions of other people doesn't mean we attract a narcissist. Yeah. Especially if they're angry. Oh, and that's the thing too, you guys, is that we tend to pick up on the heavy and dense emotions more so than the light emotions. We can pick up on those as well. Like all of a sudden you can find yourself in a good mood. But we tend to, because the other one is such a heavy emotion, the other lower energies, emotions, right? You notice I don't call them negative. I say this all the time. I don't call them negative emotions. And I make that distinction in my book. I start out calling them positive and negative just because people understand that terminology. And then I switch it and I say, now I'm going to sneeze, you guys. Now I'm going to call them, bless me. Okay, thank you. Sorry, excuse me. I call them lighter and heavier emotions because all emotions are serving, and I don't like the inference of negativity, of what that means, because they're not negative. Okay? So with an empath, I realize that society is a work in progress. We're all, healing and growing and shifting, and we're finding terms for things. And recently, I made a short about something. I talked about an energetic divorce. And some critic guy got on there and said, I hate that everybody is talking about or trying to come up with new terms. Okay? Because, what you're talking about is really just communication. It wasn't at all what I was talking about. It wasn't at all what I was talking about. And there was at some point in my relationship with my husband, my current husband, that we were not getting along. But I wasn't going to divorce him. It wasn't that. But I said to him, babe, we need a reset. And I used that term. I said, let's have an energetic divorce. Just energy, where we just pull our energy back, separate ourselves from each other, take some time to get really clear about ourselves, and then let's come together. Because a lot of times when people aren't getting along, and I'm getting off track here, but I will get back. A lot of times when people aren't getting along, it's because I want you to see this and I want you to see this, and we both are just wanting the other person to see the thing, and people just butt heads. I call it two rams. Okay, two rams bucking heads. And who wins in this argument? Well, think about a ram. What happens? Eventually one just backs down. That's the win, which isn't really a win. So I told my husband, I'm like, we're in this cycle, dude. We're in this cycle. And I said, let's just, because we love each other tremendously. We're each other's best friends. We're great teammates. But there was a few little pieces, as relationships do, that we were not jiving. And we were bucking heads a lot. So my point is that I coined that phrase, an energetic divorce or breakup, whatever. Doesn't mean you have to literally break up. Just people might call it taking a break. But see, these things aren't defined. I defined it so that I understood, he understood. And guess what? It was extremely serving. But then I got this hater boy coming in being like, it's just communication. No. Sometimes people don't know what's going on. They can't communicate. They can't articulate these feelings. But when they take themselves out energetically, they're not still enmeshed in the energy. Okay? So they can take themselves out and they can journal and they can ask themselves questions and they can think about things. Okay? So, yes, society does coin new terms, and I love it because so many times we're like, oh, that makes sense. All right? This is great because it helps us to understand ourselves better, which is the whole purpose of this talk and why I got on here. And what I was saying in the beginning is that these terms are great because they help us to understand ourselves, but where they don't service everybody is when we go, well, I'm just that too effing bad. I'm just an empath. I'm just destined to attract narcissists. Okay, no and no for many reasons that I just discussed. That's not the case. But if you're an empath, cool. You have fine-tuned a spiritual gift that we came here with. But use it to your advantage. when I'm picking up on someone's energy, instead of being like, oh my God, your energy is such shit. Instead of saying something like that, I'm like, this person is dense right now. They need love. Loving energy. Doesn't mean I kiss their butt. Doesn't mean I enable. It means I show up with loving energy. Okay? I'm soft. I'm firm. Okay? This doesn't mean they get to beat me up for any reason. But I show up with loving energy. So being an empath has served my relationships because I'm understanding things better. And let me tell you something. It is amazing when it comes to coaching. In fact, this is my prayer before I coach a client. I say, God, Source, Spirit, because I can pick up on some energy of clients, and then if I'm not aware, if I'm not protected, then it becomes my energy. And next thing you know, I'm feeling as sad or as dark, as depressed or whatever is there. I can feel it, and I'm like, all right, okay, this isn't serving the situation. Oh, this kid's on roller skates. I want roller skates again, you guys. I've got to get roller skates. I'm kind of older though. It's scaring me. But anyway, I digress. So it helps me because I say, God, surround me. I don't just surround me with complete and utter impermeable white light when I really need to protect my energy. I say I want it to be translucent or transparent. So I get just enough, kind of a mesh. So I get just enough of what they're feeling so that I can guide them. And I will tell you this 100% of the time, knowing what they're feeling allows me to not be hammering them with a bunch of information or tools because I got to meet them where they're at. Some people are so hopeless or so depressed or so fearful. To hammer them with tools isn't going to do dink. I meet them at that. That is step one. Meet them at that so that they know I know, and that my terminology, the things that I'll say, my dialogue is very, very different per each situation. And this is why it's been very difficult in the marketing standpoint to try to say what I do. Because it's like, what is your niche? I'm like, and then they want you to narrow it down and they want you to talk only about that. And it's like, no, because what I really do is I meet people where they're at and I help them empower themselves. But at first I got to meet them where they're at. So this is what being an empath can do for us. Okay. The next thing is highly sensitive people, highly sensitive persons, all day long, have been since I was young. I'm very sensitive. But this is what I mean by that. What I mean by that is my skin is sensitive. My digestion is sensitive. If I eat, I wish I could put a picture up here for you guys, but if I eat something that has preservatives or nitrates in it, I get a rash on my chest and I get dots throughout my torso. Very sensitive. Okay? I'm sensitive to gluten. I'm not celiac. I'm sensitive to alcohol. I do not drink alcohol. I'm sensitive to it. I am sensitive to energy. I am sensitive to loud, high volume things. I am sensitive to hot and cold. I can't stand when my feet are cold. It drives me bananas. Or if my feet are really hot. You guys will see me adjusting my temperature all throughout the day. I will have a floor heater on I'm in Arizona, bros. Okay, I'm in Arizona. But it's in the winter here. So some of you are like, Kristen, what? Because you guys are dealing with like negative 19 degrees. But it's 69 in my house. I have a floor heater on because my ankles are cold. And it distracts me. And the next thing you know, that's off and the window's open because I'm hot. Okay, I'm adjusting my temperature all throughout the day because it helps me to stay grounded and centered. All right, see what I'm saying? I drink tons of water. Okay, so these are the type of things of HSP. Now, I talk about this in my book. I tell this story. You guys are going to love my book. By the way, I got the hard copy. There was a mistake on the cover. There was actually two that my publisher caught. So we're in the hard copy phase right now, and I'm waiting for the next hard copy because I want to cry holding this book. I held it, and I was like, oh my God, like, here it is. Here it is, my little sweet book that's got my big, fat, juicy heart in it. All right. Again, we're live. I digress. So my daughter, my youngest, when she was, I don't even know how old, probably one-ish in there. I don't think she walked yet, but she was, sitting up and doing, she was pretty functional. We went into this restaurant one night, we sit down, and it was like a teppanyaki place, where they cook the stuff, but they also had tables, and we weren't at the teppanyaki, high ceilings, kind of a modern type thing, so those high ceilings, very loud in there. And we're not down there for 5 minutes, and she's kind of crying and fussing, and I'm doing all the things with the Cheerios and the things like that, right? I'm giving all those things. Nothing's working. Pick her up, holding her ass, not working. I'm like, what the hell? What is wrong? And she's not like wailing. She's just very, the feeling was like just uncomfortable, like just like something. So there was a side door that went out into the parking lot. So I walked out the side door. I sat on the curb, the parking curb with her. She stopped crying. I sat out there a few more minutes just to double check all the things, the pieces and the parts and the diapers and okay, go back inside. I am putting her in the car seat, or I'm sorry, the high chair, and she starts again. So I'm checking her diapers or something on her pants. Is there something poking her? Something on the seat? All these things. And I'm like, what the heck? Go back outside, stops crying. Come in, third time, same thing, go back out. Now, mama go, I started to notice the quiet outside versus the second I walked in that side door, how loud it was in there. I was like, it was tingy and clinky and the volume and the music. And I was like, it's freaking loud in here. So I did this thing. I tried my best to write this out in my book. I hope you guys get, you will. What am I even saying? I took a long time to write this paragraph out because I wanted you guys to understand. I held her and I went out the door and in the door. Out the door and in the door. Out the door, stop crying. In the door, crying. Out the door, stop. And I went, she's sensitive to noise. I got myself a little HSP. She's sensitive to noise. I get it. So I went and ordered, and I sat outside with her. It's okay, right? But I also talk about, you guys, this, and I'm just going to throw this in here because my lives are very flowy, okay? I want to flow this in there that care that I took of her, you guys saw what I did, how I tried different things. This is what the fifth self-love tenet is. It's self-care. And I use that in the self-care tenet portion of this book. Because that's how we need to go with us. What doesn't feel good? What doesn't feel right? What do I need? That's why I do the things like, you guys might think I'm overly anal, and I don't really care. Because I do what's good for me. With the floor heater in my room. Or, sometimes I don't like when I sit for long periods of time at my desk because my feet swell a little bit. So I have this, what do you call it? Like a little step stool. Boop. I put my feet up on that when I'm writing. Like I adjust myself all the time during my day to be comfortable. Okay? Whatever it takes. So this is what HSP is actually showing us. Where are you not caring for yourself more? Because there's probably more. And I'm going to venture to say that this is not a special gift that you've been given. I will tell you something. The best mediums, psychic mediums that talk to dead people, which is really picking up on their energy, reading the energy. Every single good medium that I've ever listened to said, we're all mediums. Mic drop. That's the point I'm trying to make, you guys. Okay? No child of God is special, and we're all special. I was recently flipping through A Course in Miracles. I stopped on something, and it said, God does not bestow any spiritual gift upon just one person. Okay? We all have it. We're all given the same tools. Now, things like special talents, like I started doing hair when I was in 6th grade. You guys know I did hair for 30 years. Okay, I was doing the neighborhood kids' hair. And then going into high school, people were like, will you do my hair for prom? Will you cut my bangs? Will you, And next thing you know, I'm doing people's hair. That was just part of me. That's my genetics. That's my makeup. That's my, that's I would say a talent. It was a talent I had. And I dropped out of college to go to beauty school. My dad was paying for my college. That was one of his things. He wasn't going to buy me new jeans. He wasn't going to buy me a nice new car, but one of his things was that he paid for our colleges. And I went through junior college, community college. Then by the time I went to Arizona State University, I was there for 1 semester. And by the way, I loved it. I really loved it, the whole university feel. And I called my dad one day and I said, Dad, I really want to go to beauty school, which was a fraction of the price of going to university. Okay? But my point is that I'm trying to draw the line between, or I'm trying to make it more clear to you guys what's the difference between a spiritual gift and a talent or a passion. That's all part of personality too, right? All right, so I could go on and on about that, but I need to stay on topic. So what is a sensitive? Just a sensitive. People say, well, I'm a sensitive. Okay, there's a lot of terms swirling around the world, around right now about this too. And I don't really think any of them are wrong, except for there needs to be a distinction. Okay, so sensitives can be people that are energy readers. They can be psychics. They can be people that have good intuition. A lot of times that term came out probably in the 90s where people started, instead of psychic, you notice people don't say psychic that much anymore. I still am down with psychic because to me, that's all encompassing, right? But a lot of people don't say psychic anymore. They're calling us sensitives and all these things. Well, here's the thing about that. That's fine. That's a sensitive. A sensitive. Okay? A noun. A sensitive. But when someone says, I'm sensitive, what does that mean? Now, I want to unpack this really clearly because I don't, gosh, so many times when you're a content creator, people don't understand. So if you guys have any questions about what I'm saying, please post it so I can make it more clear. People's perception and the way they hear things and the language that we use for things, which is why I like to have a clarity of terms. By the way, Course in Miracles has that. They have a whole terms glossary because they speak in Christian nomenclature or vernacular, whichever one it is, and they want to know what their definition is. And many times, if you guys have gone over to the Wisdom app and listened to any of my talks over there, I am very careful about defining how I'm terming certain things so that people understand where I'm at on that page. We've talked about that a lot on many, many talks there, that the context matters, okay? Because people will take things out of context. It happened in my family just the other day. Someone took something out of context. I'm like, that's not what I was saying. Well, you, and I'm like, that's not what I was saying. Here's the context that I meant it in, okay? All right, so I have a friend that kept saying her husband was upsetting her because she's sensitive. I'm sensitive. And I was like, tell me the things that he's saying. She told me the things that he was saying, and they were neutral. And I was like, okay, we need to break this down. There's two types. Okay, I'm trying to get this clear, you guys. Sensitive, using it in the way that she was using it, is that I have a low self-worth and some hidden shame, and the things he's saying is touching it. So she's trying to control him so that he doesn't hurt her feelings. But the problem is he's touching the wound that's already there. That's what's happening. So she's getting all hurt and spewing that onto him, and he's like, I can't even talk without it hurting her feelings. So in that respect, she's calling herself sensitive. And that could be a good, like, I'm really sensitive, to things people say. I remember being called sensitive a lot. Okay. So I figured out eventually that it was me. It was my lack of self-esteem. It was my lack of self-regard. It was my not feeling like I was good enough. And the things people would say would make me go like, oh my God, you think the same thing about me. Unconsciously, I would think that, right? However, sensitivity, HSP, also means we can be sensitive to energy, right? We can be sensitive to energy. We can be sensitive to lower, dark, heavy energies. So like Andrea, I think it was Andrea that said if someone, or if it's anger, if someone's in anger, that's a lot of energy. And if you are an HSP, you're going to feel that gnarly. Like that's going to be like, all right? Especially, Daryl. Yes, I know, Daryl. Yes, I know that. Okay, you guys, that's Daryl. He's my, one of my BFFs, one of my wisdom brothers. And when you're on the wisdom app, you can actually send up little emojis and you can clap when people are saying things. And so that's what Daryl was referring to, is that you can send up those little emojis. So thank you, Daryl, for that comment. And by the way, if anybody hasn't liked yet, but hit the thumbs up, go ahead and do that. That can be your emoji. Okay, so where was I? When it comes to HSPs, we can be sensitive to energy, which kind of turns into being an empath. Get what I'm saying, you guys? We can pick up on things. Then you throw in intuition, and you see how this can be confusing? There's a whole lot of stuff going on here. We have our oversensitivity because we got some shame and unworthiness going in, but then we're picking up on the energy of other people, right? And then we are highly sensitive in other ways, highly sensitive person, which means we're sensitive to the environment. We're sensitive to a lot of things. We got all those things going on at the same time. And then we're a people pleaser on top of it. There's a lot happening. There's a lot happening here. And this is why the healing path can be confusing sometimes for people. And why I seek to try to break this down for you guys so it's really pretty understandable. So let me see. The other thing that I wanted to mention too is I spoke about the Enneagram in the beginning. I also want to mention personality tests like the Myers-Briggs. I have people throw that at me. Well, I'm an HNNJ, PFQRT, LMNOP. Like people say it to me, I'm like, what does that mean? Because they like that label because it's, that's perfect, Daryl, because it's a box. Well, this is just who I am. I'm this. Okay? Well, guess what? When I took the Myers-Briggs, I was almost equal for each thing. This was years ago. I don't know what I'd be now. But the numbers were so close. I also took a personality test in when I was in coaching school. It was a colors, like you are a color, a blue or green, a yellow, blue or green, orange or yellow or something like that. And I was like, my numbers are really close there too. Okay? So, but if I went with, I'm a 22 in this one, I'm a 21 in this one, I'm a 20 in this one, I'm just going to label me a 22 and call it a day? No. We are forever evolving and shifting and growing and healing and stepping into higher versions of ourselves. So to think that that personality test or that label defines you, no, it's just explaining you. It's just helping you to have a better understanding. It's not for you to get stuck in. Okay? If you knew how awesomely brilliant you are and that you have infinite possibilities and connection to infinite intelligence, if you knew that, you wouldn't want to box yourself. You'd be like, this is so small. Do you think when God put us down here, he said, you're going to be an empath. That's your box. You can't grow past this. No! Like I said, we all have the ability to read energy. Some of us are in touch with it, and some of us are not. Okay? But then they say things like this. Empaths became empaths because they were environments that they had to read the energy of everybody around them. So they got highly tuned to their energy because it was some type of toxic environment. I know people who have been in really toxic environments that are so out of touch with reading energy that it's not even on their chart. Okay? So it's just the way that they process the environment was different. So now, not because every single person that goes through toxicity or chaotic childhood or whatever is going to become an empath. They could become something else, right? And here's the other thing, you guys. I've known people, this is going to really blow people's minds. I've known people with narcissistic tendencies, like hardcore, that are people pleasers. I know. So there is not this one size fits you box that you're supposed to be in. These terms are just used to guide you. When I wrote my first book, I didn't call it people pleasing. I called it doormat. I did. In fact, my first book was titled The Recovering Doormat. And the word doormat, for some reason, Spirit said, don't use that. The world's not ready for it yet in the way I was using it. People couldn't own doormat. In fact, I had people saying to me, I can't own that word. That was like way. But now, all these years, that was 2014. And the book is titled From Doormat to Sweet Empowerment. I made it softer. And now I also know why. Because I needed to keep the recovering saved for this book, The Recovering People Pleaser. Doormatting and people pleasing is basically the same thing. All right? But the world doesn't want to talk about doormatting. That just, every once in a while people will be like, oh yeah, I'm a total doormat. Every once in a while people will do that. But for some reason, the energy of the world at that time, that was unownable. But that's what I called it. I didn't know what to call it. I didn't know what to label my behavior. But then I realized I was letting people step all over me. I was a doormat. It was the best I did that time. But then as time went on, and people pleasing picked up the pace, and people started talking about that, and I understand people went to people pleasing. They like that term. Because guess what? There's a word called pleaser in it. I'm a pleaser. I'm a people pleaser. So that somehow makes me not so bad as being a doormat. Am I ruffling feathers here, you guys? I might be, and I'm okay with that. Because I decided that I'm a disruptor, I'm a sacred rebel, I needed to own that. Okay? Again, what do those terms mean? What do those terms mean? A disruptor, I'm someone who can't sit by and watch things happen just because there's this group of people blindly following society because they're afraid and they don't want to go off the beaten path a little bit because something might happen. So I'm just going to follow over here. Okay? Sacred rebel is the same thing. They're people that, again, this is just a definition. Does this make me special? No. There's a gazillion sacred rebels that were here before me. Jesus, hello. Hello. Jesus. Can you get any more sacred rebel than that? All it means is that we're in touch with consciousness. We see the kind of capital T truth of a situation, and we can't sit in the dark with people. So we're willing to speak. You'll see this on Reels where people say, I have this disorder where I tell the truth and I piss people off. Sacred rebel. Okay? Truth teller. We need these terms because they help us to understand. And we need to understand, like, what am I doing? Like, am I free falling through life? What am I doing? Oh, I'm being a doormat. I'm allowing people to walk all over me. Okay. Okay, people are getting pissed at things I'm saying because I can't sit quiet amongst ignorance. I can't. I gotta speak up. People are also calling me maybe a bitch because of that. Or a D. I don't know what I'm allowed to say on a D word, D-I-C-K word, right? People will call people things because they're calling out the truth. And those are the things that make us start to play small. But there's things like I'm an empath. I pick up on other people's emotions. That means I'm soft and gentle. People want to own that and they want to stay in that because it feels good. Okay? Who wants to own narcissism? Who? They're out there, right? But it's much easier to own empath and people pleaser because it sounds kinder. And I will say this, own it. Yeah. Recognize your behavior. But don't say this is the way I am for the rest of my life. Because it's not true. Okay? Now, I believe people pleasing is on a spectrum, just like I believe selfishness and narcissism can be on a spectrum. If this is the center about where we want to function in life, here's the center, okay? This is a nice, good place. It's called interdependence, where we go between the needs of self and the needs of other people. We're in here, okay? But if we're anywhere on the spectrum, it gets worse and worse and worse and worse as it goes out here, all right? There's all this healing space. All of this is healing space. Here's another thing. A lot of people say that narcissists don't heal. The narcissists don't heal. I've seen differently, but they're works in progress. I've seen people be people pleasers until they die. So we're all pointing at the narcissist, saying that the person who their brain, right, processed their lack of getting their needs or getting the proper love or attention or approval, whatever, into being hyper focused on self. Why is that any worse than people who became hyper focused on other people? Do you see what I'm saying? The hyper focus on other people sounds better. Oh, I care about everybody, right? And this is why it's really hard sometimes for the people pleaser to come to the center, because they go, I'm going to be selfish. I don't want to be selfish. See what I'm saying? There's so much to unpack here. There's so much to unpack here. But I want to leave you guys with this. Here's the deal. It is absolutely okay and actually serving that you recognize certain aspects of your personality. But just use them as a guidepost, just a textbook, just a reference. Okay. Because I will tell you this, I call myself recovering people pleaser because there is still parts of me sometimes that will enable or won't speak up when I should. Okay? Because I believe we are human beings and we are a work in progress. So I don't own recovered. I don't. Unless I became Buddha or Jesus or somebody. I'm not going to own that. But that doesn't mean I'm staying stuck. That doesn't mean that. It means I'm still healing. I'm still conscious. I'm still aware. I'm still looking at my pieces and my parts. I'm still watching my behavior. I'm still checking my moods, paying attention to my emotions, watching the way other people talk to me. I'm careful about how I interpret texts or messages to me to make sure that I'm not in some weird space. I still do the work. Okay? But the majority of me is not a people pleaser anymore. I'm not afraid to say no. I'm not afraid of not being liked. I'm not afraid of being left. Because I know for sure if someone leaves me because I'm loving me, then they don't love me. Because, like, true essence of the word love. Because people who really, truly love you, they want you to love you. They want you to love you. But I'm not afraid of people. If someone wants to go because I'm loving me, okay. Here, take a to-go box. Here's some cookies. I'll walk you to the door. Kiss, kiss. Bye-bye. Why? I can't stop loving me because I'm afraid of what someone's going to think. Okay? And I was all jacked up in trying to get people to like me. Oh, I had all the masks. I knew how to do it. I'm so unmasky right now. You can ask Daryl if he's still in here. This is me. And here's the most fabulous part of all, you guys, is what I attracted from just being me is the most amazing people and the most amazing life. So yeah, you can identify as a recovering people pleaser. You can identify as a sensitive, which means you're psychic or you pick up on energies, you're intuitive. Sure. You can identify as that. You can identify as an empath. Awesome. You're just talking about parts of your personality. And that's great. What I don't want to see you do is say, I'm an empath. I'm forever destined to attract narcissists. No. You can heal. You can heal. The whole path here, you guys, is about our healing. It's the whole reason we're here. Is to bring us closer. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Is to bring us closer to our authentic self, to our unconditional love of self that we came here with. The message popped up twice, Andrea. Thank you for this message twice. I'm not sure if you did that on purpose, but you're welcome twice, girlfriend. You are welcome twice. Thank you. Thank you for saying that to me twice. Okay, so what I really hope to leave you guys with today is to know that when you identify as something, you recognize an aspect of your personality that is not serving you. This does not mean you're destined by any way, shape, or form. It's a non-thing. Okay? Narcissists are not destined to be narcissists forever. But back to that real quick for anybody that's curious, they tend to not be reading feedback from other people because they're so concerned with self that they're tending not to read feedback coming from other people that's making them look at themselves, okay? Because they feel so bad about themselves as it is, and their job is to find supply. We hear all about the supply, right? To come to them. And if you start to talk about who they are, they're like, oh my God, now you're the bad guy, but they're not going to go, hey, maybe I did that. Until the pain of staying the same outweighs the fear or uncomfortableness of growth. Because here's the deal. Narcissists do get their karma because we all get our karma. Okay, it's just energy returned. That's all it is. So what we're putting out comes back to us. We're putting out comes back to us. And the particular narcissist that I'm thinking of who, told me all about me, all the crap that I am. When I was none of those things, I was actually a doormat and a people pleaser and an enabler. That was me, right? But he's trying to tell me all these things. I wasn't any of those things. But of course, the demise of our relationship was my fault. Of course. Okay? It was partially because I was all these things. However, that he went on through life and the stuff that happened afterwards that I just happened to be able to be in proximity to via other people in certain situations where I would hear about things, he started to humble. He started to humble because he started to notice his own pattern. Okay? So, this is not that we can't heal. Now I just got to throw this in there. Psychopaths and sociopaths, from what I have understood based on doctors and people that I've listened to about that, that's actually a brain thing. Like that's a genetic thing or something. And they're likely not going to change. But a narcissist is a disorder. Okay, it's a personality disorder. Guess what people pleasing is? A personality disorder. I don't know if anybody said that yet in the world, and I'm probably going to get in trouble. But that's what it is. We're trying to get the love, approval, and acceptance from outside of ourselves. Well, how different is that I'm hyper attending to your needs, that I'm the narcissist hyper attending to my own? Why is one worse than the other? It's not. So we go, I'm a people pleaser. That's what's happening here. I'm paying all this attention to these people. I'm afraid of being disliked. I'm afraid of being left. I'm afraid of being alone. I'm afraid of, I have to be a peacekeeper, whatever it is. When you just go, yeah, that's what it is, but doesn't mean I have to stay this way. Which is my book, The Recovering People Pleaser. And the subtitle, or byline, depends how you word it, a spiritual guide to reclaim your capital T true, capital W worth. Your worthiness of God, that divine spark that's in you, to attract the love you deserve. Why is that? Do you guys know how many subtitles I wrote? I can't even tell you. Tons, and sent them to people and sent them to people. And what do you guys think? What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Okay? And it really boiled down to this. To heal our people pleasing, we reclaim our true worth. And guess what happens when we reclaim our true worth? We attract better people to us. But guess what? We're no longer needy for it because we've healed our true worth. So these people that we attract are bonuses to our life. Isn't that awesome? You can heal. You can heal anything that is not serving for you, period. You can heal it. Okay? And I want to encourage you to keep on path. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep introspecting, because personal awareness is key. I say it all the time. Awareness is key. I had to become aware that I was the common denominator in my dysfunctional relationships. That was my first awareness. And that started the College of Kristen, where I vowed to remain single and celibate until I figured this ish out. First awareness, I'm the common denominator. I sure as shit am. Okay? I just had to have an awareness. Then I had my second awareness, third awareness, fourth. The awarenesses kept coming, but I owned them. Yep. Because if I was denying them or ignoring them, I couldn't deal with them. Right? It's like if you have a cut on your arm and you keep ignoring it and denying it and it gets worse and it gets worse and you still have the same experiences because I'm denying it. It's festering. It's getting worse. Okay? You have to recognize that you got the wound on the arm. First thing, I got a wound. Now what's my plan? How do I heal this? Oh, I got to wash it. Right? And it's one step after the other, and then pretty soon that wound heals. We are the walking wounded. That's what we are on planet Earth. We're perfect, whole, beautiful, divine sparks that enter into a body that goes away after we transition. Right? The spark leaves, goes back to home, and the body just gets committed back to the earth from which it came. It's a great recycling system. I'm joking. Okay? But we came here with it. But we came here to grow. We came here to have experiences. So no one is exempt, doesn't it make you feel good? We're part of the best club. We are part of the biggest club in the world, which is no one's exempt from wounds. You sit down and talk to any person. I remember back in my 20s when I thought it was me. Like, just, my God, I'm the one that's going through all this stuff. And granted, I did have things that my friends didn't have, right? Like my brother passing away, my father cheating on my mother, just certain, I won't get into all those, but certain things that my friends did not had happen, right? So I thought, oh, there's something wrong with me. But there was other things happening that I just wasn't privy to, that was creating wounds and programming inside of them, right? One of my friends had abandonment from her father, but she never talked about it. She was just like, everything was fine. Like, oh yeah, it's just my dad, he lives over here, but she had these deep abandonment wounds. Okay? We all have them. The key is to become aware and then do the things to heal it. Doesn't mean you won't still be an empath. You're still going to be an energy reader. Okay? You're still going to be HSP. I'm still highly sensitive. All right? And you're going to use them as navigation tools, a better understanding of your life. That's what you're going to use them for. Instead of, this is me, I'm stuck, and I'm done. All right, you guys, I have to go. I actually have a meeting with my website lady, my website designer, in just like 7 minutes, and I need to go home. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening. I wish I could click to see who is still in the room. It doesn't allow me that option on my phone, which is a bummer because it'd be sure fun to see who's still here. But I want to say thank you to everybody that came in today, came through and listened to this talk, and people who are going to listen on the future talk. 2 things I would love for you to do. I invite you to subscribe and to turn on notifications and to share this channel with anybody that you think would benefit. Also leave a comment. I love your guys' comments. I love interaction, as you can tell. So leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. any ideas, questions, anything you have. And the second thing is to put a reminder in your phone that my book, The Recovering People Pleaser, A Spiritual Guide to Reclaim Your True Worth and Attract the Love You Deserve, is coming out. It's due to be released in hardback or in paperback and Kindle version on April 11th this year, 2023. So put that in your thing. Of course, I will be giving you guys alerts when that is happening. And that's it. That's it for today. So much love, everybody. And until next time, remember, you matter. Now go love yourself.